Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Bradley Francis. We warmly welcome the family of Sapper Charles Lofts, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony around Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From Victoria, Cardinia International College, Primary Department, Bell Post Hill, St Joseph's School, Black Rock, and Sindel South Primary School, Mount Waverley. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Children, you may sit. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 Australian men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sapper Charles Lofts. Charles Lofts was born in 1891, one of 9 children of Henry and Mary Ann Lofts, who lived at Granite Hill, near the small town of Lexton in Western Victoria. Known to his family and friends as Charlie, he attended Lexton State Primary School before working as a local blacksmith before the First World War. Lofts enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in Mildura in July of 1915. After a period of training at Royal Park in Melbourne, he embarked for Egypt with a reinforcement group for the 2nd Field Company Engineers. As a sapper, Lofts was responsible for a range of construction tasks to support the infantry in the field. These jobs included building defensive positions, repairing trenches, clearing roads, laying duckboards, and constructing showers and baths for the troops. By the time he arrived in Egypt, the Gallipoli campaign had ended, and the AIF underwent a period of restructure and training before its departure for the Western Front. As part of this restructure, Lofts was transferred to the newly raised 12th Field Company Engineers. Attached to the 12th Brigade, the 12th Field Company Engineers participated in all the major actions fought by the 4th Division on the Western Front. After a time in the line in the relatively quiet sector near Armentières, the 12th Field Company Engineers participated in the bitter fighting on the Somme at Pozières and Mouquet Farm, and spent the following winter holding positions between the villages of Fleur and Gerdecourt. He participated in the advance that followed the German withdrawal from the Hindenburg Line and took part in the heavy fighting at Bullecourt in early April before moving up the line to Messines in early June. By late 1917, the focus of British operations had shifted north into Belgium, where the Australians took part in the Third Battle of Ypres. As part of this, the 12th Brigade participated in fighting at Polygon Wood, Broodseinde, and the costly and unsuccessful assault on the village of Passchendaele. The fighting ended with the onset of winter, with both sides digging in and waiting for the fighting season to resume. By early 1918, the Australians were still holding the line in Belgium in an area that witnessed the bloody fighting of the Third Battle of Ypres. The 12th Brigade was holding positions along Westhurk Ridge near the village of Zillebeke when the engineers worked on improving the trenches in the area. As part of this, they revetted the side walls, raised the height of the parapet, laid duck boards, and widened and tidied the brigade's defensive positions. German artillery fire was both sporadic and indiscriminate, and regularly fell in Australian lines. Charles Lofts was working on the 12th Brigade's defensive positions when his section was subjected to artillery fire on the 12th of February 1918. Lofts was wounded in the head by a shell fragment and was evacuated to the 2nd Casualty Clearance Station at Steenwerk, where he died the following day. Aged 26 at the time of his death, he was buried at Toisarbe Cemetery at Steenwerk, where he rests today. A small epitaph penned by his grieving parents simply says, "His duty done." Charlie was one of 4 Lofts brothers to serve in the First World War. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, with almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. His is just one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sapper Charles Lofts, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and good evening.